This isn't just another YouTube video. This is a quiet guide for the part of you that has been waiting too long for someone else to say you are allowed to begin. For the next few minutes, you do not need to convince anyone, explain your reasons, or ask the world to agree with the quiet truth you already feel inside. You only need to listen, breathe, and notice how much of your life may have been placed on hold while you waited for permission that was never coming. Sometimes people do not remain stuck because they are lazy, weak, confused, or unwilling to change. Sometimes they remain stuck because they are still waiting to be told it is safe to want something different. They wait for the right time, the right sign, the right amount of confidence, the right approval, or the right version of themselves who will finally be brave enough to move. And while they wait, years pass in a strangely polite way, not loud enough to frighten them, but steady enough to take whole seasons of life away. You may have told yourself that you would start living differently when the pressure decreased, when people understood, when money felt safer, when your past stopped hurting, or when fear finally stepped aside. But fear does not usually step aside before you move. Very often, it learns to quiet down only after you have taken the first small step without its permission. There is a kind of life that looks responsible from the outside because you keep your head down, fulfill your duties, avoid conflict, and do not disturb the expectations that others have placed around you. But inside that responsible life, something can begin to shrink because every day you postpone yourself, you teach your heart that your own longing is not important enough to answer. At first, waiting feels wise because you call it patience, preparation, loyalty, maturity, or being realistic. But after a while, waiting can become a hiding place, and the hiding place can become so familiar that freedom starts to feel like danger. You begin to ask invisible judges for approval, even when nobody is actually standing in front of you. You ask your family if it is acceptable to change, your past if it is acceptable to heal, your fear if it is acceptable to try, and your old identity if it is acceptable to become someone new. Then, when no clear answer comes, you treat silence as a no. This is how many lives become smaller than they needed to be, not because the door was locked, but because the person standing in front of it never believed they were allowed to open it. Maybe you have been waiting for someone to apologize before you finally let yourself feel peace. Maybe you have been waiting for someone to understand your pain before you allow yourself to move beyond it. Maybe you have been waiting to feel fully ready before beginning the thing that has been quietly calling you for years. Maybe you have been waiting to be younger, stronger, richer, calmer, thinner, more confident, less wounded, or somehow more deserving of the life you keep imagining. But life rarely begins under perfect conditions, because perfect conditions are often just fear dressed in elegant clothing. The truth is that nobody may come to your door with a certificate saying you are now free to live differently. Nobody may gather the people who doubted you, misunderstood you, ignored you, or underestimated you, and force them to finally validate the person you have been trying to become. Nobody may return the years you spent being careful, obedient, useful, available, and emotionally silent. And yet, even without that permission, you are still here. That matters more than you think, because being here means there is still one place where your life can begin again. The place where you stop asking the wrong people to release you. Some people will never understand your change because they only knew the version of you that made them comfortable. Some people will call your boundaries selfish because they were benefiting from the version of you that had none. Some people will be confused when you stop performing the role they assigned to you because they mistook your exhaustion for your personality. But their confusion is not a command. Their discomfort is not a prison. Their opinion is not a life sentence. You do not need everyone to understand your healing before you begin to heal. You do not need everyone to approve of your peace before you start protecting it. You do not need everyone to clap when you finally choose the life that feels honest to you. Sometimes the most important decisions are quiet, private, almost invisible from the outside, because they happen in the moment when you stop betraying yourself to keep an old story alive. You stop saying yes when your whole body is tired. You stop staying in rooms where your spirit has been begging you to leave. You stop explaining your pain to people who only listen long enough to defend themselves. You stop treating your dreams like guests who must wait outside until everyone else is comfortable. And slowly, almost awkwardly, you begin to remember that your life belongs to you. Not in a selfish way, and not in a way that denies love, responsibility, family, work, or care. In the deeper way, the way that says responsibility should not require self-abandonment and love should not require disappearance. The people who truly love you may need time to adjust to your becoming, but they will not need your destruction in order to feel secure. The life that is right for you may still ask for courage, discipline, patience, and sacrifice, but it will not ask you to become permanently absent from yourself. So perhaps the question is not whether you are ready enough to begin. Perhaps the question is whether waiting has already cost you more than beginning would. Perhaps the question is whether the approval you are hoping for is worth another year of your silence. Maybe you do not need a dramatic escape, a perfect plan, or a complete reinvention before taking one honest step. Maybe you only need to make one decision that proves to your nervous system that your own voice is no longer the last voice you listen to. Send the message, take the walk, make the appointment, say the truth, close the door, open the notebook, rest without earning it, or choose one small act that tells your life you have returned. It may feel uncomfortable at first because freedom often feels strange to the person who has spent years asking for permission. But discomfort is not always a warning. Sometimes it is the sound of an old cage realizing you are no longer willing to live inside it. You are not behind because you waited, and you're not broken because you needed time to understand what was happening. But now that you see it, do not use understanding as another reason to postpone yourself. The life you are waiting for may not begin when someone finally gives you permission. It may begin when you stop asking for it. This wasn't just another YouTube video, it was a quiet guide.